Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Now I know things have been a little quiet on the channel lately, and that's pretty much just because I'm busy with work and everything. Also, I'm in the process of selling out some of my old stuff just so I can buy some newer components and build some better systems. But I did find a lot of the smaller videos that I'd made. In this video I'm gonna post 4 of them just because they're not that long and they're not gonna do really well on their own because they're alright videos, but I guess they've made more sense for a longer video compilation. Without further ado, let's get into the first video. Hello YouTube, I'm Toby, and today we're going to try and cool my i3 2100 with some copper grease. Now, copper grease is used on bolts to make sure that they don't rust into place so that they're easier to take out again. Also, if you've ever done any research into custom water cooling loops, you know not to mix aluminium and copper components together, since they'll go through a redox reaction and pretty much break your loop. Now, I realized that both the heatsink and the CPU heat spreader on the i3 is made from aluminum, but I'm kind of hoping that I can get this experiment done in about an hour and get the copper grease off and not do any damage. So without further ado, let's benchmark the i3 2100 with its aluminum heatsink and the stock thermal paste. Alright, so I'm just about ready to start the benchmark, but I think I forgot to mention what the stock thermal paste was. I can't really remember the name of it, but I'll have a picture of it. It's pretty much just some generic white thermal paste. And we'll be using the Furmark CPU burner for around 10-15 minutes just to see what kind of temperatures we reach on the CPU. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the benchmark has been running for just over 10 minutes. I just stopped it, and our maximum temperature on the hottest core was 60 degrees Celsius, whereas our maximum temperature on the coldest core was 57 degrees Celsius. So what is left to do is pretty much just shut the system off and take off the old thermal paste and apply the copper grease. Alright, so once again we'll be running the Furmark CPU burner test for 10 to 15 minutes, so let's get started. Well, great, the copper test has been running for a little over 10 minutes, and our maximum temperature on the hottest core was 63 degrees Celsius, and our maximum temperature on the coldest core was 60 degrees Celsius. So, a slight increase in temperature, so yeah, not a good thermal paste. Alright, so copper grease as a thermal paste, well, I guess it actually did work a little bit, but the actual thermal paste did a way better job, I think. Also, you may run into some horrific issues with copper grease. Now, first of all, there is the possibility that it may react with the aluminum on the heatsink and the heat spreader on the CPU. Also, when copper grease dries up, it turns into this copper dust, and you know, you don't want a bunch of conductive copper dust all over your PCB. So if you decide to do this for some reason, make sure that when you're done, you clean everything meticulously, and you don't leave it in there for too long, because, well, it could short circuit your CPU, your PCB, your RAM. It could short circuit everything. But I hope you enjoyed this little video, and thank you very much for watching. Hello YouTube, I'm Toby, and you may remember my $32 custom water cooling loop. Now if you watched this movie you may know the issue I'm having with it, but if you did not watch it, I highly recommend you go back and watch that one first. Now the issue I have with this is that the pump down here is extremely loud. Alright, so I have a piece of cheap generic foam that came in some packaging, and let's cut some pieces out of this. Alright, so now I have these 3 pieces right here. I don't know if 3 is too many, but better to cut too many than too few. Alright, so the first order of business is to get this pump out without breaking anything. Alright, so the pump is now loose. Alright, time to use some hot glue to secure these foam pieces together. Now I decided to go with 2 foam pieces. I think this may be plenty. Alright, so the pump is now installed with the foam. Let's try and turn it on. It's not too much of a difference, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Okay, so that was my attempt at using foam. It did not work as good as I anticipated, but I did feel like it was maybe just a little bit better. Now I'm thinking let's try and completely enclose the pump in foam, see if that will help. Now don't tell me that this don't look interesting. I decided to go with tape just for the housing just for now, but let's test it out. Yeah, I can still feel the vibrations in the floor, so I can't imagine right now what it sounds like on camera, but keep in mind that the sound isn't so bad in real life. It's just because the camera is placed on the desk that the pump is also placed on. So what you're probably hearing is just the vibration that carries directly into the microphone. Alright, so my attempt right now was more or less a success. I feel like the vibrations were dampened a little bit, but I'll definitely have to get some better foam, I think, or maybe some rubber to put it on. One of you actually commented that rubber might be a good idea. But for right now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Now this right here is a 9800 GT. As you can see, I've heavily modified the cooler on it. I had to do this because this old cooler right here simply just could not keep it cool. I don't know if it was the brass cooler right here or it was just the fan not being strong enough. But today I'm going to put the old cooler back on this one, but I'm going to keep this fan on here and figure some way to jerry-rig it onto the old cooler just to see if that may be help the temperature. Alright, so first order of business is cutting all these zip ties right here. Alright, so now we have both the fan and the old improvised heatsink off. I think it's time to take the fan off the old heatsink. Alright, so far so good. The fan is very secure to the heatsink now, so now it's just a matter of getting it onto the actual PCB. Alright, so far so good. I've seen worse, but I've definitely also, seen better. But the fan seems to be in place, it's spin freely, the wires are secure, and there's new thermal paste on here, so this should be interesting. Now this is the system we'll be installing the graphics card in. This is also coincidentally where it came from. This is my old tinkering PC. It's a Lenovo M85 ThinkStation, I think. Or Think Center, I believe it's actually called. But yeah, let's put the card in and see what it looks like. Yeah, I am very excited to see how well this is going to work. I really don't have that high hopes for it, but I guess we'll see. Alright, so the system is up and running, and according to MSI Afterburner we're idling at 48 degrees Celsius. This is it's quite hot actually for what it is. The CPU is idling at 38-35 degrees Celsius. So let's try and run a few benchmarks. Alright, so we are currently running the Fairmark preset 720p test, and we're already well, our temperature is already rising. We're at 67 degrees Celsius, 68, 69, 70, and still climbing. Alright, so our maximum temperature during this test was 85 degrees Celsius. Compare this to the 67 with the modified cooler I had on there before. Currently we're just running the Fairmark GPU stress test just to see what kind of temperatures we can reach on this card. Alright, so we're pretty close to hitting the 100 degrees, and from the from the graphics card there's a very hot air coming out, so we're just going to stop the test right there. Yeah, there's still a lot of hot air coming out of the graphics card. Alright YouTube, so what did we learn today? Well, we learned that brass coolers suck. Now I hope you enjoyed this short little video, and thank you very much for watching. Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Now a while ago I did a video about this 9800 where I put the old fan back on, the old brass heatsink back on, and this fan right here. Now the problem we ran into is that this brass heatsink just doesn't really seem to be able to dissipate the heat enough. I tried with a larger aluminum heatsink, which actually did quite well. And with that heatsink and this fan, the aluminum one, we managed to get it down to 67 degrees Celsius. But with this on, it easily reached 100. So I figured, let's try and play around with this fan right here. This is a power supply that goes up to 30 volts. So let's see if we can get some decent airflow over this graphics card. Alright, so we got the graphics card out, and now it's pretty much just a matter of cutting some wires and extending them. So far so good. I've hooked up the appropriate wires, and I've marked the ground wire just so I know where this one goes. Now that's all left is to pretty much reinstall this back in the system and setting the whole thing up. Alright, so we have power to the system, and as you can probably hear, the fan is working fine. So let's turn the system on. Alright, we are at 11 volts and we're around 49 degrees Celsius. Let's try and turn it up to 13. Now at 13 volts, still at 49 degrees. Let's try and fire up Fairmark. We are currently at 16 volts and we're still climbing in temperature. Let's try and bump it up to 20. Alright, so we're currently at 23 volts. And we're at 82 degrees Celsius. We're now at 24 volts, and we are kind of hovering the 85 degrees Celsius area. Now I'm going to give it a little more time just to see if it stabilizes completely. Oh, I just jumped up to 86. Alright, we're still at 24 volts. It seemed stable at 88 degrees Celsius, but it just climbed up to 89 degrees Celsius. So it doesn't really seem like it's that stable yet. Let's try and bump up the voltage a bit. Alright, we're currently at what, 27? Yeah, 27 volts, and we're still at 89 degrees Celsius. Alright, so at 27 volts we seem stable at 89 degrees Celsius. Let's try and bump up the voltage just a little bit. We're currently at 30 volts and we're still at 89 degrees Celsius. Alright, let's stop the test and see how long it takes before the temperature falls. Alright, the temperature is falling very slowly, as you can probably tell in the MSI afterburner. Alright, so it seems that it has settled at 52 degrees Celsius. Let's see what happens if we turn the fan off. Okay, so the fan has been off for a while now and it is slowly climbing. I was actually expecting this to climb rather quickly, but I guess not. Let's try and turn the fan back on again. Running it at 15 volts, and the temperature starts falling again. Who would have thought? Alright, so just to demonstrate the amount of voltage that went into this fan, I just took it out just so we could demonstrate it. Alright, that's 5 volts, let's bump it up to 10. 15 volts. 20 volts. See, it's starting to move. Alright, let's bump it up to 25. It's almost hovering. Alright, 30 volts. Alright, so there's a bunch of garbage on the on my desk right now, so let's just try and bump it up to 20 volts. That's a lot of power. Okay YouTube, so what did we learn today? Well, once again it is proven that brass heatsinks suck. So don't buy stuff with brass heatsinks on it because they are really bad at dissipating heat. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you very much for watching.